I don't see anybody else in besides us.
Here comes 8.
Oh, here we go.
They're coming in.
Hi guys, welcome to the StriveScan Virtual College Exploration for New Jersey students. I just want to go over a few things as we're getting started and people are coming into the room. One of the things I want to share with you is that in order to ask questions, you guys can use the question and answer button. So you're not going to use the chat function, you're just going to use the question and answer feature. Make sure that your camera and microphone are off. You guys are all muted and your video's off. The panelists can't see and they can't hear you. Also, if you want to sign up for some more sessions, we'd love to have you at as many sessions as you'd like to attend. There's lots going on the rest of this week, and there's also individual sessions next week. So please sign up for all the different options that we have. The recording will be available, and all of the sessions are being recorded and will be available at www.njacac.org/virtual-fair. Any questions, please let us know along the way in the Q&A. And I'm going to turn it over to my fabulous presenters.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our panel. Taylor, if you'd put up their screen, that would be great. So what we'd like to do is we're going to introduce ourselves. My name is Carol Covino, and I work with Berkeley College. I have worked for Berkeley College for 28 years, and I am the Associate Vice President of High School Admissions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Zola. I am an Assistant Director at William Patterson University. I've been there professionally 6 years now, and did my undergraduate work there as well. So I'm excited to work with you today, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Kirkpatrick. I'm an admissions counselor / EOF liaison here at Bloomfield College. I'm coming up on 3 years in January, and I'm also an EOF alumni as well.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevon Hemmings. I'm an admissions counselor at Ramapo College. Been working there going on my 3rd year now. Also an EOF alum, and I help with EOF recruitment as well at Ramapo. So look forward to seeing you guys.
Okay, so we're going to get started with the presentation. Taylor, can you flip the screen? That's us. Next one. Oh, I'll do the overview of the presentation. First of all, we're going to touch about how to search for the right college. We're going to talk about finding virtual visits, what to ask during the visits, researching beyond the homepage, how to communicate with your admissions counselor, which is really very important, and testing and requirements. Okay, so in this whole COVID world, we've all been pushed to the virtual world, but some of the things haven't changed. So before you start this search process, you have to ask yourself some questions. Whether you're doing it virtually or in the real world, you still have to have those conversations with your parents and with counselors. Gee, how far is too far for me to go to college? How close do I want to go? Gee, Mom and Dad, how much money do I have to spend on college? Do I have a budget? Then you really want to think to yourself, how big of a school do you want to go to? How small of a school do you want to go to? Do you want a rural setting? Do you want to go out into the woods? Do you want to go far, far away from home? Do you want a suburban setting? Or do you really want to be in a city type setting? you want to live on campus, or is it better for you to commute? Now your major. What do I really want to study, and what type of a career will that give me? Many of you might be looking into schools' athletic programs. Some of you might be more enticed by a club or an organization. So you need to really have these conversations. So in the next slide, we have some tools. First, your tool, of course, is your school counselor. Your school counselor can help you define a search that you would like to see in as far as how close, how far, how much, who has your major. Many of you have Naviance right at your fingertips. And Naviance, of course, has a lot of tools. You can do the little quizzes in there to help you decide what your major is, what your interest might be. I think it's actually called the interest survey, or I forget the actual name of it, but it'll give you a little quiz so you can find out what your personality is like as far as what the interest you want to study, okay? And it can help you decide which major is best for you. But again, having that conversation and using Naviance with your school counselor can give you a list of schools that you would like to look for. As far as your career, you want to look at BLS.gov. Now that's Bureau of Labor and Statistics for the government, okay? And that's where you can search for your careers and the growth areas in the careers. I get to speak to a lot of students, especially over 28 years. And I have a lot of students who say, I want to study, you know, whatever they say. And I'll say, why do you want to do that? And they'll say, I heard you can make a lot of money, okay? Or I heard you can get a really good job in that. Sometimes that's right, and sometimes that's wrong. So when you research a career, say like psychology, that's always a really popular major. But when you go and you look at what you can do with psychology and what the careers are, you will look at BLS.gov, and they will tell you it's a faster than average growing career. It's an average, it's a below average. They're losing jobs in this market. They'll tell you everything you need to know. One of the things is you don't want to spend a lot of time studying something in college that's not going to lead you to a career. Because the reason we do go to college is pretty much to have a career. Don't discount Google. Google can bring up, when you Google, say, I want to be a fashion merchandiser, it will bring up a lot of schools that offer fashion merchandising, but it'll also tell you what a fashion merchandiser does. I have a lot of students who say, oh, I want to do computer science or computer engineering. And I say, well, when you say computer engineering, what does that mean to you? And a lot of times it's not exactly correlating with the vocabulary that college uses for their careers or their program descriptions. So you want to make sure that you use Google to your advantage, because you can actually glean a lot of information from what Google has to offer. But then again, one of the biggest tools you have is sitting right in front of you in your computer, your mailboxes. I must say that I do have a high school senior at home, and she is getting mail from colleges on a daily basis. And I say, do you open it? And she says, no. And I'm like, maybe you should. They might be giving you some information that you really need to know. And one of the things is they are marketing to you, yes. But they want you to open that email, and they want you to learn about what programs that they offer. They want you to learn about what they can offer you as far as activities and recreation and sports. They want to show you their college. So open your mailboxes and open your mail from colleges and do the investigation, okay? I'm actually going to turn it over to the next slide. And we're going to start a little bit more.
All right. Okay, so we've done some research. We found a couple schools that we like, or you're curious about or anything. So what happens next? Traditionally, you would schedule a campus tour. Unfortunately, a lot of that has been either limited or not available now because of everything going on with COVID. But many of us have options for virtual tours or information sessions. You can just see quick little snips from each of our websites for the schools we work for, the different variations of what you're going to see. Now, some of them might be right on the homepage of like, hey, come visit and click here to find out how to visit. Some you might need to just search. All of our schools have a search bar, usually up at the top of the page of your the website. And that's a great place just to search, just like you do in Google, right? Just put in a couple keywords, campus visit, information session, anything along those lines to see what's available for that school. We all have all different variations. Some of us might have a virtual tour that's led by students. We might have individual presentations or panels that are led by our students. So you're not missing out as much where you're just only hearing from the admissions staff. You're hearing from our students still. And that's important to make sure you hear from those students to hear what their experience is like. Because, we're all admissions people. We're here to kind of talk to you about the facts and figures of the university. Some of us work at our alma mater, some of us don't. So we don't all have that experience of what it's like to be a student on there. And that's going to be really important when you're looking for the right college for you. So making sure you have that opportunity to ask questions to those students that currently are at that university or college is going to be really important. The other part of this is signing up for virtual tours or information sessions or anything you can kind of get more information about the university or college is also going to count towards what we call demonstrated interest. If you've heard of the word demonstrated interest before, this is something where colleges use this to see how many times have you interacted with our college or university. It's very Big Brother-like, where we see how many times you've opened an email, how many times have you clicked through a link, if you've signed up for a tour, if you attended that tour. So those are things that might play in your favor when we get to that admissions review process. If I'm looking at a student if I have two students in front of me and both of them have exactly the same academics, the same, extracurriculars and everything, but student A has attended a virtual tour and student B hasn't, I might lean towards student A more to push them forward than student B. So all of this is going to really help you during the admissions process once you're going through. Now, let's say if you go to a virtual tour for a school and you realize, it's really not for me, that's okay, that's fine. It's not going to hurt you to go through all this process, okay? But making sure you keep yourself organized and, keep all your facts straight about each school you go to is going to be really important through this process. Taylor, could you go to the next slide? Great. Now we talked about when you're at a virtual tour, what do you want to ask during this? And these are good questions to ask either on a virtual tour or even an in-person tour, an info session, anything along those lines. So you have the opportunity to talk to current students. I would ask, why did you choose this institution? Everyone has a different reason for choosing the institution that they attend. How did they get to that point of going there, and why do they choose there? And why do they choose to stay? If they're continuing there, what makes them want to continue to be a student at that institution? Who's been your favorite professor and why? Learn about what it's like in the classroom. How do professors connect with their students? Are they available easily after class? Are they engaging? Are they just sit there and lecture? You have to kind of start figuring out what you're looking for in an institution, and those students are really going to give you the answers there. What do you like to do between your classes? This one is super important because in college, you have a lot more free time than you do in high school, and you don't realize it. And you think, oh, I'm just going to, spend my time relaxing and everything. And then 4 years fly by and you graduate and you have nothing to show for it sometimes. You want to make sure you're filling up that free time with either clubs, activities, work, research if you're looking for that. You want to ask those students, what do they do when they're not in class? And that's going to be, you know, an idea for you to get what you could potentially do while you're there. You know, that's where you'll learn a lot of those soft skills that employers are looking for. Your time management, organization, working in teams. Those are all things that employers typically look for. And how is that institution going to support you outside the classroom to find those skills? And last, everyone wants to know what the food's like, right? What's your favorite place to eat? You know, what options do I have when I'm on campus? Is it on campus or off campus? Can I go explore off campus and still use money for that, like for my meal plan? So those are all great questions to ask your students while you're on either a virtual tour or an in-person tour. Now, of course, we have our admissions counselors. So you have a person that you can contact directly. And Taylor's going to talk a little bit later about how to contact them in the right way. But, you know, if you're on a virtual tour, if you're on campus and you want to ask some questions to your counselor, I think that's a great idea. You know, asking what support services do you offer to students? And these are 3 key pieces. How are you supporting me academically? How are you supporting my career choices and exploration? And how do you support me socially? How am I going to make friends on this campus? You know, those are 3 good areas to definitely find out about how this campus is helping your students. How are freshmen supported during their first year? We know high school to college is a very difficult transition. So how is that institution going to help you be successful at that school? What sets you apart from your competitors? Everyone has different schools that are very similar to them in their areas, you know, but what stands out? What makes you unique? You know, those are good things to kind of ask to see, you know, is that something I'm looking for in a school? And where do your students gain experience outside the classroom? And it's not just those clubs and organizations, but internships, jobs, where are your students going after graduation? Those are all things you want to know, especially for your specific field that you're looking to get into. And really think about, what do you want to know that won't be found on their website? You know, we're going to talk about in just a few seconds about what you can find on a school's website, but what do you want to know that's not going to be shown there? So these are great questions to start with, and then kind of evolve your questions into what you are specifically looking for. So let's talk about what you can find on the school's website, and I'm going to pass it over.
Okay, great. Thanks, Melissa. So when you're researching and you're looking into different schools and you're kind of like, you know, my guidance counselor, you know, I told her, or my school counselor, I told her what I'm interested in. I told him what I'm interested in. And they, you know, told me, look at these schools. So now you're kind of on their website and you just blank out, right? So this is the chance for you to really go on there and really find out how to research beyond just going to, you know, bloomfield.edu and then just stopping there, right? There's so much to look into in terms of how to figure out what the school offers. So just like what Melissa said before in terms of the search bar at the top, you could treat it just like Google. There's so much to type in there and learn more about for the school. Sports teams, if you're interested in sports, want to know what division they are, NCAA, varsity teams, anything like that, that's what you want to type in. Just type in sports, type in athletics, right? Does the school have the sport you're looking for? Does it have field hockey? Does it have lacrosse? So it's always important. If that's something that's important to you, then that's something that you should be researching when you look into the schools. Again, not just going to the homepage, but typing that in at the top of the search bar, right? I am going to focus on the search bar for a little bit. It is a very important tool that I feel a lot of people aren't using on a lot of our websites, right? A lot of times we're trying to you know, roll our mouse over certain categories and seeing if maybe what we're looking for is under that list that drops down and is like, oh, it's not there. Oh, maybe it's here. Or where can I find, you know, AP credit like scores that I need? Like all of that you want to type in the search bar and it should come right up, and all those keywords are going to come up. Just like what Melissa said earlier, open house, of course, that is the #1 event we want you to come to. It's an all-around event that you can learn about so much about the school in just one event. So you 1,000,000% want to search open house and see is there an open house? And so that is the biggest event usually that a school is going to run, so you can learn more about it in one place. And of course, majors, right? I like, let's say, audio engineering, music production, biology. You want to search majors, right? Just type it in and you'll see a list. It'll be there. So that's always good to see. Does the school have the major I'm looking for? The next thing I put is accepted students. This is very important. I've realized that after you get accepted, let's say to the 5 schools you applied to, and you're like, you know what, I want to know more about the accepted events that's going on campus for students like me who got accepted not too long ago. Type in accepted students and you will see, or admitted students, and you'll see a bunch of different events for admitted students, admitted student days, things where you can come and learn more about the school, but they're not maybe going over just the basic information because they know you probably heard us a lot of times already talk to you about it. So this way you get to learn more about the next steps and what will, you know, push you to maybe think about depositing at that school. Okay. You should just type in admissions. It's very important. Like, type it in, see what you need to be admitted to the school. You know, if you love Berkeley, I mean, you need to know what it is that you need to be admitted to the school. If there's certain minimums for certain programs and majors, typing in admissions and getting that information is paramount. So you definitely want to do that as well. Also, if there's an option where you can join a mailing list or submit a question or anything that can help you receive updates, emails about the school, you probably want to opt in if you're genuinely interested in the school. A lot of times, like Ramapo, we'll put our visits and our events on our website as well. And it's good for you to learn about that. Once you submit a question, maybe you have a question for us, you can submit it right on the website. A lot of schools allow you to do that. A lot of schools allow you to see exactly when they're going to visit your high school, when they're going to do the virtual visit. So that's always smart as well to do. And talk to your school counselor, you know, like, hey, I'm interested in William-Paterson. Like, do you know when they're going to visit? And then a lot of times they have that information, like, oh, they're visiting next week, next Thursday at, 2 p.m. So this way, not only are we researching beyond the homepage virtually, but you can also reach out to your school counselor and they can give you more background on that as well. All right, and I'm gonna turn it over.
Thank you, Kevon. So like Melissa said earlier, we're going to talk about kind of how to communicate with your admissions counselor. Building your relationship with your admissions counselor, I feel, is the most important thing for you to do. So introduce yourself. Let us know who you are. Let us know that you're interested. Like Kevon was saying, Google admissions on our webpage and see who your admissions counselor is. On our webpage, it lists every county that I work for, whether it's Union, Monmouth, Ocean, Burlington. If you're from any of those counties, I would be your admissions counselor, so I would be your direct point of contact. Introduce yourself to me. Email me. Text is the best form of conversation to get to me because I'm one of those people that do not answer my phone. So text message is the best form of communication. Set up a call. We're in this whole virtual world where we're all kind of communicating via Zoom. Schedule a one-on-one meeting with me. Let me know that you're interested in Bloomfield or Ramapo or Willie-Paterson or Berkeley. Let us know. Use your counselor as your resource throughout your entire process. Yes, we're admissions counselors, but we also know financial aid. We know advising. We know every single thing to help you through the entire admissions process. You will never be alone in your admissions process. You have your admissions counselors, your high school counselors, teachers, family. You're never alone through the process, so don't ever feel like you're alone. You can reach out to admissions counselors. We're always available, especially via text message. I will answer text messages on Saturdays, Sundays, 10 o'clock at night, just not 3 in the morning because I will be sleeping. But, we're kind of there 24/7 for you. We're at your disposal. Any questions that you have, especially if you have a question that kind of pops up randomly, send us a text message, send us an email so that we can get your question answered right then and there so that you're not forgetting it once you come to meet with us and things like that. Also ask your counselors if there's any instant decision days coming up. Unfortunately, we don't know how those are going to look this year, but if they are virtual, it's kind of a way to meet your admissions counselor. So what that is I would come to your school, we would do kind of an informal interview. I would ask you general questions, what's your favorite class subject, what's your favorite movie, who's your favorite TV character, just kind of getting to know you, and you also get to know me as well, especially, with movies. My favorite movie is A Nightmare Before Christmas, and we're heading into October, so that's all I've been watching. So I've built relationships with students based off of the movies that I like, or a TV show or anything like that. So just because we are your admissions counselor doesn't mean that we can't be a friend as well. And getting into testing options. So obviously SAT, ACT is unfortunately not available at the moment. So always look into what the school is offering that you're applying to. So use that homepage. If a school is test optional, which means that they don't require your scores at all, great. You don't have to submit them. But if there's a school that, for their nursing major, you have to submit your scores, make sure that you have them. Or, if you're really determined on going to nursing, find a nursing school that is non-direct. They don't have a GPA or an SAT requirement. So make sure that you're looking at specific majors and what they require, especially, with everything going on, they might still require SATs or they might not. So always check with your admissions counselor to make sure that you have all the requirements that you need in order to be considered for a certain major. And, you might need your SAT or ACT scores for acceptance, a scholarship, anything like that. So always talk with your admissions counselor in finding what exactly you need for your acceptance. Again, utilize us. We're here. This is our job. We love talking to students. It hurts every single one of us that we can't meet you in person. So, reaching out to us, getting to know us is our best form of communication. And also, if you visit www.fairtest.org, it basically is going to give you a list of all the schools that have gone test optional and have not. So it's an updated list. So you can see, I'm looking to apply to Ramapo. Are they test optional or do I need my test scores? I'm interested in Bloomfield. Are they test optional or do they need my scores for our music technology program? So make sure that you're looking past the homepage and asking those questions if you're not 100% sure. Okay, and this is our keep in touch page. So even if you don't come to one of our schools or you don't apply to one of our schools, that's totally fine. If you want to reach out to us with any questions that you have, feel free. All of our emails are listed below.
I do want to make one comment before we log off or take some questions, is many of us have been doing virtual sessions through your school counselors. We might say we're live at 10 o'clock, can you log on? Sometimes they're done after school. We might do them at 2:30, 3 o'clock. One of the things is we're noticing from the college side is you guys aren't taking advantages of those times. So if you're offered a session with a college that you may be interested in, please log on because we're just sitting there waiting to talk to you, that's for sure. So please take advantage of what your counselor sets up for you, okay?
And just one thing with the testing, please make sure that you're checking test requirements for the future. So if we have any current juniors or current sophomores or freshmen that are in the presentation, make sure that when you're a senior, you're looking at the criteria for that year. Because there are some schools that have gone test optional for the class entering of fall 21, but for classes fall 22, fall 23, they may not be test optional for that year. So, just because it is that way this year doesn't mean it's going to be like that in the future. So definitely make sure you're checking that criteria early, probably like the summer of your senior year, to make sure that you do meet that criteria or you're submitting everything you need to qualify. Schools change deadlines sometimes as well, especially for scholarships. I know we changed our deadline from February to December. So make sure that you know that information especially if you're really interested in a school. because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity because, you know, you forgot to look up what the new deadline is or something like that.
And also going off of testing, see if the school super scores. So basically what super score means is if you've taken the test more than once, what they will do is if you submit both scores, which I always suggest students do, is they can take the highest score from your first test and the highest score from your second test, and they basically put them together and kind of give you a new score. So especially if you need, you know, your SAT scores or ACT scores for a scholarship, always see if that's an option, because then there's the possibility of, you know, taking, you know, a 500 and a 600 over a 400 and a 300. So always make sure that you ask every question in regards to scholarships, financial aid, anything like that.
We just had a question, a really good question in the box, and I'm going to address it. And it's say, you know, if you aren't taking your SAT or your ACT, what is the most important part of your application? And I'm going to say that we're going to really look at your transcripts and the rigor in your program. We're going to look at your activities. I personally, we highly recommend a personal interview at Berkeley College. So we'd really like to get to know you. You know, sometimes you're not the best student, but you're really driven and you want to be somewhere. That counts a lot for us. So anybody else want to chime in on that question?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Of course, just like what Carol said, definitely a transcript. A lot of times it's really depending upon your major too. I mean, if you're applying for biology at Ramapo, I mean, we want to make sure you're getting A's and B's in your science classes in high school, right? Don't go for nursing and say you hate science. That's not the way to go. So, so keep that in mind. You want to make sure you are aligning with what you're interested in. I am going to, at least at Ramapo, we're reading every single application. So I'm going to read your essay. I'm going to read your letter of recommendation. Just like what Carol said, we're going to see what you did other than class. Are you in the band? Do you work at Boys and Girls Club? You know, like anything like that. Do you babysit your little sister? That's something I want to know too. Maybe that's stopping you from getting a job. So like anything like that, I want to know. So yeah, we're holistic, right? We want to look at everything and make sure that, you know, everything's working out and that we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us too.
So I just got a question from our StriveScan host. If a student has a test score and the school is test optional, when should they submit that? Should they always send the scores? So it's going to really depend on how the school is asking the student to apply. There are some schools that will ask, are you applying test optional? And if you say yes, and you still submit scores, they're not going to look at them at all. If you say no, obviously they're going to want their scores. Some schools will not have it part of the required checklist to review the application. So at that point, it all depends on when your application's made complete and we receive the test scores all at the same time. So I can give you an example at William-Patterson. We are test optional. We do not require test scores to complete your application. So if we have your transcript and you've attended, let's say, a virtual tour, your application will be made complete, and I can review that application at that point. Now, from there, let's say you had great grades and you were good to go. If you submitted test scores later on, it just kind of gets added to your application as an afterthought. Now, if you maybe struggled with some classes, you know, you needed a couple extra things to push your application, you know, past being accepted, we might put your application on hold. And then those test scores would be really important to be able to push your application to acceptance. So, you know, all of it's kind of a timing thing. You know, if you would like us to see your scores, go ahead and send them. But if you're not really sure if you want to hold off, that's fine too. You know, a lot of schools are not going to, you know, reject a student right off the bat, depending on the school, okay? We are the admissions office, so that means we're trying to get students to be admitted to the university, not the rejection office. So we are trying to help you through that process. So really, you need to give us everything that you have to help us get you admitted to the university or college. So if those test scores are going to be helpful in that process, go ahead and send them over. If you think you want to hold off on those, that's fine too. Again, that's a personal choice at that point. And that's probably a conversation you may want to have with your school counselor to kind of determine what's going to be the best course of action. Especially if your school is a Naviance school, they will have historical data of the students who previously were admitted or applied to this institution to see kind of where they landed in terms of grades and test scores and all of that. So it's a really great grid where you can put in your information and see your likelihood of being accepted to that institution. So definitely that's a conversation you're going to want to have with your school counselor and just kind of figure it out. And again, if you're not sure, reach out to your admissions counselor. That is what we're here for, to kind of let you know what's going to make the most sense to put your application's best foot forward.
Yes, so going off of Melissa, so at Bloomfield, we are test optional, and we have 3 testing options on our application. So the first one is I want my test scores used, which means that I have to use them in your decision. 2, I do not want them used, which means even if I receive them, I am not allowed to apply them to your application, your acceptance, unless I have your permission. And the third option is I allow Bloomfield to choose for me, which basically what that means is you give me the opportunity as your admissions counselor to kind of see what's best for you. So because we're test optional, we do have certain scholarship criteria. So we do have ones that are just GPA based, and then we have ones that are GPA and test scores. So if you don't submit your test scores, that's completely fine. If you do submit them, we always just look at them and see if it would help you with your scholarship money. So the way that I explain it is if a student has a 3.9 GPA and a 900 SAT score, I won't use their SAT scores because it won't help them with their scholarship. Or if they have a 2.8 GPA and a 1250 SAT scores, I would use their SAT scores because it would give them a bigger scholarship amount. So always just check with your admissions counselor. Again, where you are your best friends. So just check with them to see exactly if your SAT scores would help. So because we have those 3 testing options, if you choose to let me, choose for you, and I already have a completed application without your SAT scores, because it does take about 6 to 8 weeks for College Board to send them, if you're sending them through College Board, I can make a decision on your application without them. And then if I do receive them within the next couple weeks after I have made a decision, then I can reevaluate your application and see if your SAT scores would help you.
I'm going to say, any more questions? Just type them in the box. We're here for you. This is all about you and navigating the process. Hopefully they're typing.
Just to kind of piggyback off of contacting your admissions counselor, do not feel like you're bothering us. I do have students who I've been in touch with like on a monthly basis. And sometimes it gets to a point of like, I haven't heard from this student in a while. I hope they're okay. Or sometimes, it's just like people are so timid, or they want their parents to reach out to us because they don't want to be the one to ask the question. Definitely we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you about your application and your questions. It's great if your parents have questions as well, because they should be part of this process, but it's not their application, right? They're not the one applying to the institution. So we want to definitely hear from you more so than the parent at that point, because it's really going to help boost that, relationship. And the thing is too, let's say if you decide to, attend my institution, you have a great ally on campus at that point. Once you enroll at this school and like in the first month, you have a question about, financial aid, or I don't know how to work the Blackboard system, come talk to me. I'm here to help you through that, right? So it's not just about only your admissions process, but what happens over the summer, what happens during your first semester and moving on. because our goal, yes, is to bring you in, but we want to see you 4 years from now, graduating, walking across that stage and getting that diploma. And I can say, hey, I brought that person into this school and I remember them from their process, you know? So we want to be excited about that. So make those connections with us directly, not just with your parents. Great to hear from parents as well, but we want to hear from you.
All right, we do have 2 questions. Well, we have 3 actually, and 2 are pretty much the same. But I'm going to go for the first one. How important are letters of recommendation? I'm going to answer for me, for my honors program, very important. For a couple programs like business data science, important. But I'm going to let everybody else answer.
Oh, am I unmuted? Okay, great. Yes, same here at Ramapo, very important. We do read all of them. So just know we are reading every single one. We want to see what's being said in your letter of recommendation. You always want to try to choose someone who knows you best. Your school counselor, you know, your favorite math teacher, your phys ed teacher, whoever it is, we will read it. Yep.
Do not choose a teacher that you've slept in the class, showed up late to class, because you never know what the recommendation letter says, especially because it is confidential from the students. So always make sure, like Kevon said, that you're picking the people that know you best and would basically give you a great letter of recommendation.
At William Patterson, we're actually optional for recommendation letters and personal statements. Those are all things that you may submit if you need to boost your application. Maybe your grades aren't super strong or anything, but those are secondary items I would look for if you submit them, but not required to complete your application with us. Great question to ask your individual admissions counselors that you may be looking for, which looks like is our next question. How do you find out who your specific admissions counselor is? Again, go to that homepage. Search admissions counselor, search your county. Sometimes there is, we're broken up by county. Sometimes we go by more like geographical region. So maybe not exactly county, but like South Jersey or North Jersey. Central Jersey's kind of there now. You know, so it all depends on what areas we cover. Okay. So definitely just make sure that you're going to that. And even admissions homepages will have usually a contact us. So if it's not very clear on that, you'll have a general admissions email that you can always send and ask, hey, I live in this town. Who is my admissions counselor? And they can contact you that way as well.
And I'm going to tell you, your counselor would really know your person who's coming. We're going to start to run out of time now that we have a lot of things. I'm gonna talk about, is it all right if your college essay is about what you want in your future profession to be? Yes, but first of all, if you're doing the Common App is asking for certain prompts that you need to answer. So you need to do one of those. My daughter is currently a senior. She's looking into some schools that are asking for a COVID essay of how COVID affected your life. So you need to check with that particular college. But I'm always interested to hear what makes a student want to do what they're applying for. Okay. Anybody else really want to quickly that? We've got 2 minutes left.
Yeah. So one, Central Jersey is real. And two, I always explain that your essay is what shows who you are as a person. Your transcript, your activities, you know, the clubs that you're involved in, that shows how great of you're good at multitasking, how good of a student you are. But your essay really is what shows who you are as a person, especially if you don't have contact with an admissions counselor and you just see Bloomfield's, you know, on an ad one day, you look at it and see, oh, you know, this is something that I'm interested in applying to. Your essay is kind of what shows who you are as a person. So whether you write about, you know, what you want to do in the future, how you worked out every single day on the basketball court to get on the varsity team your sophomore year, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear, you know, your life journeys. That's what we love as admissions counselors, is getting to know the students on a more personal level.
Anyway, we really want to thank you very much for joining our panel. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. We had fun putting it together for you. And if you need any of us, you have our emails up there. Please don't hesitate to contact us at any time. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys for joining us. Just remember that there is a quick survey that's going to appear before you log out. And remember to sign up for some more sessions, and your recordings will be available if you want to watch us again. Thank you to all our presenters for being here.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
Bye.
does exist.
Hope to see you on campus.
Thank you.
Thank you.